first thing we need to talk about when discussing all of this is the breakdown of it. So the first part of this, we're going to talk about the budget process. We'll break it down into a few steps. So the first part of this is determining whether current items appropriated are really necessary. We do this by evaluating a budget from previous years and compare it to when we're doing this year's budget. This part is also known as the executive phase. Step 2 is known as the budget estimate step. So during this part, the fiscal officer will distribute budget form 1 to the proper town officers. Once it's distributed to the proper town officers, they put it into a computer system known as Gateway. Gateway is a computer system that holds pretty much all of the data that will be used throughout this whole process. Alright, now we will move on to step 3. During step 3, budget form 1 will be continuously distributed to different officers that are going to determine whether or not that budget helps and benefits the community and meets all of their needs. It'll be reviewed by the department financial field representatives at the budget workshops. This is usually held sometime between July and August. Alright, so let's go on to step 4. Step 4 is the part where we start finalizing. This part takes place after the budget workshops, and the fiscal officers start finalizing the town's budget to make sure proper data has been added into the computer system we talked about earlier, Gateway. Yes, they do this again. Next, we move on to step 5, which you're probably thinking, well, I thought the last step was when we were finalizing. Well, we're still finalizing. But this time, it moves away from the fiscal officers and goes on to the city council. In about September or October, the city council will review the budget for civil taxing units and then will make a recommendation based off of what they have in front of them. And should they approve it, then they will move on to our next step. Next, we move on to step 6, which is also known as legislative consideration. This part of the budget process encompasses voting on bills and appropriations. Budget Form 1 is outlined in Gateway and is divided into classifications. These classifications are personal services, which are salaries, wages, employee benefits, and then supplies, which are office supplies, operating supplies, and repairs, debt services, and then other services. Finally, we move on to the last part of this, which is taking it to the public. The public are invited to participate in public hearings held by the city. During these forums, the citizens are given a chance to express their approval or their disapproval for the budget. Public hearings are held for the benefit of the taxpayer, and copies of the budget are available to all the attendees. The second piece to this puzzle is the budget format, basically how everything in the budget is set up, and then the information management, which is how us, the public, would access all of this information, how easy or difficult it is. There are many different departments that are accounted for when looking at the budget. Those departments include the mayor's office, the fire department, road and street repair, and the city and town court. For each of these departments, there is an organized chart that shows where the money is allocated for each department. There are 5 categories where the money can be allocated, and that is personal services, supplies, services and charges, capital outlay, and debt services. One feature that is noticeably absent from Franklin City budget is the prediction of how funds will be distributed in future budgets. We've concluded that it would be beneficial for the city to include predictions as to how they anticipate money will need to be allocated in future years. Franklin can analyze current and past budgets to track trends and show how the town's financial needs are changing. By doing this, Franklin can create a roadmap of the direction they'd want their spending to go. While the budget document itself is very thorough, finding the information and the budget itself was nearly impossible. After searching on the city's website for a decent amount of time, I still couldn't find it. So then I traveled over to the Indiana government website to try to find it there, and then again, still no luck. This simple information should not be this hard to find. The final piece to this puzzle is analyzing the expenditure and the revenue trends. In 2016, Franklin, Indiana's total expenditure was $6,719,609. Next, we're going to break down that expenditure amount of $6 million and some odd dollars. The first group is the elementary and secondary education. The second group is the public welfare. Third, higher education. Fourth, health and hospitals. Fifth is the police and corrections, and then lastly is the roads. So the elementary education takes up the most of the spending, which is 22%. Second, public welfare takes up 21%. Third, higher education takes up about 10%. Next group, health, which takes out about 9%. And then police and corrections, 6%, which is also equal to how much we spend on roads, which is about 6%.